variant. George, thanks for being with us from the JP Morgan conference where you're going to be presenting, we understand, in just about half an hour. Tell us about the antibody drug that you have in partnership with GlaxoSmithKline and why it might not be vulnerable to these variants. Was that luck, or did you design it that way? And does that mean that for future variants, you might not be as vulnerable too?
Sure, Meg. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Look, we took a fundamentally different approach from our to get our antibody than was taken by Lilly or Regeneron or AZ. We deliberately chose an antibody that recognized a part of that spike protein that doesn't change. It's very hard for the virus to change. And that's shown by the fact that it's the same in COVID and SARS and many other coronaviruses. And we've been saying all along that that's a better way to deal with potential resistance than having two antibodies that bind to a region that changes quite frequently, which is true of both Lilly and Regeneron's cocktails. So, Dave Rick said that Lilly's antibodies may not work against that South African variant. As far as we can tell, because Regeneron has actually published the sequence of their antibodies and where they bind, probably one of Regeneron's antibodies keeps activity there and the other doesn't. There are other mutants circulating, the UK variant. There's a variant that came out of the mink issue that was in Denmark. There's the Scottish variant. So it's not just those two. There are other variants that are circulating, all of which are resistant to one or more of the antibodies from other companies. Based on the sequence data, based on what we know so far, all of those variants should be susceptible to our antibody. We believe that our antibody will have activity against all of those. We're determining that now experimentally, but based on the sequence, which is all anybody has so far, it is likely that other antibodies will lose activity. We believe 7831, our lead antibody, will retain activity against these and future variants. It's important to remember that this is the tip of the iceberg, that less than 0.5% of all of the viruses from infected people have been sequenced. And so what we're seeing here is just the beginning of what are inevitably going to be a large number of variants that can evade many of the treatments. And we're hopeful that 7831 will be effective not only against the current variants, but against future variants as well.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.